Hello and welcome to the world's best motorsport circuits. Firstly, before we get into this first episode, I want to give you guys a bit of an idea about what this series is going to be. Basically, as the name suggests, we're going to be visiting some of the best motorsport circuits in the world, visiting them in real life, trying to give you guys an idea, if you're trying to visit there yourself, about great places you can spectate, also a history of the track as well, and many other things, just getting to know the track as best as possible, possibly also racing it in a game, showing you what the track layout is from a sort of a digital point of view, I suppose you'd say. But anyway, let's get into episode number 1. So in episode 1 we're going to be visiting Brands Hatch, one of the staples in British motorsport history and my local track, so it's got a lot of love for myself. I absolutely love this track, one I've been to many times before. But let's start off with a bit of a history of Brands Hatch. So I'm going to send to myself a few days ago in a shed at Brands Hatch. So here we are at Brands Hatch. It's a track in the United Kingdom based in the county of Kent in West Kingsdown. This has been a track that's been host to so many fantastic racing series over the last 60 or 70 years. It currently has two layouts at this circuit, and that's the Indy and the Grand Prix Loop. The Indy circuit is mostly used for club events, but the Grand Prix circuit does get used now and again for the bigger events like the Historic Masters and the DTM here in 2018 as well. This track has actually held 14 Grand Prix over the years. 12 was the British Grand Prix and 2 is the European Grand Prix, the last of which being in the 1986 season. This track was first used as a motorcycle and cycle circuit on a local farmer's land. This track has been known as a natural amphitheatre because of its high size, all looking towards and down into the track. The first official race was held in 1926, and this was between cyclists and runners, so still no motor-powered cars were here on an actual layout. Then come 1932, 4 local motorcycle clubs came together and created the first race meeting here at Brands Hatch. After World War II, the track was permanently tarmacked, costing £17,000, which is a huge amount of money at the time. On the 16th of April 1950, the actual first proper race here at Brands Hatch on a properly tarmacked track was held. 7,000 people attended that first race meeting here at Brands Hatch. They used this original track, which was called the Brands Hatch Stadium, until 1954, where they added Druids Hairpin, which is just behind me, behind this shed right now. In 1960, the local council gave permission to the Brands Hatch owners to create the Grand Prix circuit, extending the circuit vastly. In 1988, they added a part of the track called Dingledale, which is on the Grand Prix Loop. It wasn't a massive hit and they removed it soon after. In 2004, the big buyout was complete. Jonathan Palmer bought Brands Hatch along with a lot of other tracks and created the MSV group. Over the years, the track has held so many fantastic events, some of the biggest events in world motorsport. Formula 1, A1GP when that was still around, British Touring Cars, World Touring Cars, DTM. This track has held them all. It may have not hosted some of the biggest motorcycle events in the world, but in terms of four-wheeled action, this is one of the biggest and best tracks out there. This track has also hosted some events that you wouldn't particularly expect to be here at Brands Hatch. In 2012, it held the Paralympic Games. It's also held stage rally events, which it still does today, and it used to hold rallycross events here on the South Bank section. So as for lap records here at Brands Hatch, well, let's start off with the Grand Prix Loop, the longer circuit here at Brands Hatch. That record is held by Nigel Mansell. In the 1986 Grand Prix round here, he set the lap record in his Williams Formula 1 car of a 1 minute 9.593, which is a fantastic time here round this track. As for the Indy circuit, Scott Mansell, he's not related in any way to Nigel Mansell, set the lap time in the Benetton B197, which was a 38.032, and that was in a Benetton 1997 Formula 1 car. Of course, it didn't race here in the Formula 1 season, but in a Boss GP race round here, he set that fantastic lap time. So hopefully that quick history lesson has given you guys a bit of an idea about how the track came into conception and how it's evolved into the track it is here today. Now I wanted to walk you guys through the two layouts of the Brands Hatch circuit so you can get a good idea about how the track actually runs. And you know, if you've never visited it before, never watched it on TV, this is probably the best way I can illustrate to you guys how the track is laid out and how quick you can go around it. So let's start off with the Indy circuit. We're driving a Formula Ford on Project Cars 2. So let's walk you through a lap here of the Indy circuit at Brands Hatch through the last corner to start the lap. This is going through Clark Curb, building up so much speed down here. The Brabham Straight, this is the quickest part of the Indy circuit. In most cars, building up to over 100 miles an hour, but we're ducking down to one of the most famous corners in motorsport, Paddock Hill Bend. You just have to brake as late as you dare and just hope the car sticks through here. You can see in the Formula Ford getting a bit sideways through there. Now up Hayward's Hill and into Druids Hairpin. This is probably the best place, I'd say, to get an overtake done on the Indy circuit, and probably the slowest part of the track as well. Down the hill to Graham Hill Bend. This is a a place where you do actually see overtakes and maybe tin top racing like touring cars. There's definitely overtakes there, but then I suppose they overtake pretty much everywhere. Then down the Cooper Straight here, another fast part of the track here, we don't have to do much, but then the Surtees, McLaren, Clearways, all just comes at you so quickly, even in a Formula Ford car, so you need to get the balance right through there. And as we go through Clearways right now, you need to make sure you can get the power at exactly the right point, otherwise the car behind you will get that run through Clark Curb and up to the start finish line, back down to Brabham Straight. Even in a Formula Ford car, this is a pretty quick lap time around the Brands Hatch Indy circuit. So a lot of people around the world might be thinking that is a very short circuit, and you're right, basically. It's one of the shortest circuits, if not the shortest circuit in the United Kingdom. It's up there with definitely one of the shortest tracks in the United Kingdom, and I guess a lot of other tracks around the world are a lot longer, but as we talked about in the history lesson earlier, there is a Grand Prix version of this track as well, so I'm going to run through that layout now on my Formula Ford on the Project Cars 2 game once again. So now let's run you through a lap of the Grand Prix circuit at Brands Hatch. Once again, we're exiting Clearways through Clark Curb and down the Brabham Straight here at Brands Hatch, heading towards Turn 1, Paddock Hill Bend. As we've said this before, it's such a daunting corner. You've got to have a lot of practice runs here to make sure you get a good run through here. And once again, the Formula Ford car, not particularly liking it, but up to Druids Hairpin. I said a fantastic place where you can get overtakes done in pretty much every single Formula. I've seen so many races around here, and I'll say that's the place to watch if you want to stay for one place for a whole day. Down to Graham Hill Bend here. Quite a quick corner to be fair, but you probably do have to shift down in most cars, missing the apex as always. Now we're going down to Surtees here, and this is where we're going to swing left where before we went straight on through McLaren. So we're going to go left through Surtees and just keep going left up here. So you can see there's the Indy circuit going off to the right, and now we're going down the back straight here at Brands Hatch. So we're going to go down sort of Pilgrim's Drop, under the bridge, down Hawthorns Hill, and then up to the actual Hawthorns corner, which is just the one you're seeing we're coming up to right now. So this is a really quick corner. You don't really think it, but sometimes you do have to shift down depending on how ballsy you are through Hawthorns and up to Westfield now. Once again, quite a quick corner, but you know, it's a mixture. You sometimes see overtakes there, sometimes not. Depends on the racing formula. Through Westfield, down Dingledale, and up to Sheen Curve here. This is all the part of the track which we've talked about already that has been remodelled over the years. Slightly getting curbed there over Sheen Curve. And now down to Stirling's Corner once again. Not a place you'd see many overtakes, but a great place to watch cars on their limit. Now out of Stirling's, accelerating away up to Clearways once again. This part of the track, according to the Brands Hatch track map, doesn't even have a name. So there we go, through Clearways now, Clark Curve, and I'm going to be up to the start-finish line now. But the Grand Prix circuit is certainly much longer than the Indy Loop, but still has many of the thrills of the Indy circuit. And yeah, just seeing cars to the limit at any point of the Brands Hatch circuit is always fascinating. So hopefully both of those gameplay videos have given you a bit of an idea about how the track is laid out and how quickly you can go around them. Of course, I'm not the best driver in the world. I'm not trying to say that whatsoever. But yeah, hopefully they give you a bit of an illustration about how quick the cars can go through certain parts of the track. And the Indy circuit is just a perfect track in my opinion. I absolutely love the Indy circuit. I mean, as we'll talk about, it isn't the greatest for overtaking, but in terms of just enjoyment, watching cars battle side by side, it's really, really good fun. As Brands Hatch is my local circuit, I have been quite a few times, so luckily I do sort of know where the best places are to view, so I'll sort of suggest some now. If you want to go and watch at Turn 1, maybe the Paddock Hill Grandstand's the best place to watch, but be aware you do have to pay on big race weekends. You can also go and watch at the bottom of the hill as well, but there are barriers in the way, so if you're into your photography or videography, maybe not a great place because there are big barriers that are obstructing your view. Druids Hairpin, a great place to watch because there's no barriers, really no big barriers, and you can get a nice clean shot as well because the cars aren't going too quickly. Down the hill and then down the Cooper Straight. The Cooper Straight's a hard one because you can get sort of access to the pit on the smaller race weekends for free, but it's a tough one because it'll be super busy in there, so maybe unlikely you'll get a nice shot there down the Cooper Straight, but I did get some quite nice footage today. Actually, I'll try and put that in at some point. But then my favourite place to get video on this track is this sort of section here, Surtees, McLaren, Clearways. You can get some nice sort of tight, close angles here. I just love watching cars go through this part of the track, and getting nice video here is always great for me. And then obviously through Clearways and through the Clark Curb, you can get some nice shots as well. You can see cars like leaning through Clark Curb, it's always pretty cool. And you can always go now watch down the main straight, but there are big barriers down there, so be aware. You're not going to be able to get some really nice footage through there or down there if you're trying to make a cool little video. There's not a really great place to watch down the main straight, without an obstruction of a big old barrier in the way. But it's understandable because that's where cars are going their fastest, and let's be honest, if a car does crash, you want to know there's the safety of that big barrier there, which have been proven to be effective at Brands Hatch in the past. So I was at a test session at Brands Hatch about a week ago. I think it was British Touring Cars TCR. The general just sort of sports car and touring car sort of thing. And I thought a nice idea for this series would be walking around the track. Now, I thought this would be a great idea for the Indy circuit, but unfortunately it was so loud with the cars going around, I couldn't really get any good audio, so I sort of scrapped that and thought, let's just do it for the Grand Prix loop. There weren't any cars racing it on that day, so I thought this is a perfect opportunity to walk around the Grand Prix loop, have not too much background noise, and just sort of show you guys what the track is like, what the accessibility of the track is like, and also the great places to get pictures from if you're a budding amateur or professional photographer. So I'm going to walk you through the Grand Prix loop here at Brands Hatch. You can see just back there at Surtees Corners where we leave the Indy circuit and go onto the Grand Prix loop. We've got a very long straight here, the longest straight on the Grand Prix circuit, and we'll walk you through down there and see what it looks like. So this is the straight here, you can see just behind me. It's a great opportunity to overtake on the Grand Prix loop especially. The Indy circuit, for faster cars especially, doesn't really have many places to overtake, but you know, if you get a good slipstream down here, there's a good chance you can get a good overtake done. It's also worth noting, if you are visiting Brands Hatch South Bank, you can see just here we're walking up to a fantastic place to watch the viewing. It's located just over on this side, just at Druids Hairpin, and around there it's fantastic viewing. So if anyone is visiting Brands Hatch, I definitely recommend making the visit around here. So we're 2/3 of the way down the back straight here on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix loop, and we're just before Pilgrim's Drop, which we'll speak about in a minute. But I'd like to speak about this bridge in the background right now, because weirdly, this bridge has been part of quite a lot of accidents in the past around Brands Hatch, because it's quite close to the ground, meaning cars can lift up off the ground and actually hit that bridge, causing quite a lot of substantial damage to cars. So even though it might just look like a bridge, that is quite an iconic part of Brands Hatch. So this is the sort of closest you can get to Pilgrim's Drop. It's just on the other side of these trees over there, but it's quite a fascinating part of the track here. We've got the rally course, which some of the experiences here at Brands Hatch, if you wish to try them yourself, this is sort of some of the places you'll be driving. But I think this definitely shows the undulation of this track. You see just behind the camera up there, look how steep it is, that hill to walk up. And spectators can come here on race day, so you will be able to walk through here. And just up there as well, so you can see this really is a dip. It sort of goes down like that. And yeah, you've got to be you're pretty proficient with your walking to get around this part of the track. So now we're here at Hawthorns, and you can see we're coming off the back straight here where cars, depending on their top speed, will be hitting something up to like 180 miles an hour for a top GT car. And it is a place where you can get an overtake done. If you're alongside someone, definitely you can get the overtake done. The inside line is definitely the one you want to be taking through this corner. There isn't really a possibility to go on the outside. There's lots of marbles out there, but in a lot of ways you want to be setting up a run for the next corner down there, because that's a place where you can get an overtake done for sure. There's more of a braking zone down there, so if you can get the run, there's a chance to get an overtake onto the next corner. So we're here on the Derek Minter straight here. It's a sort of average size straight here at Brands Hatch. It's actually a place where you can get overtakes done if you set it up from the straight before, but it's actually quite notable because it's so close to the track. You can see, I don't know, 1.5 arm lengths away from the barrier, and then maybe 6 or 7 meters away from the track. But I'd say this is probably one of the closest places on the Grand Prix loop where you can get to the track, so fantastic place to view, I'd say. The Grand Prix loop in general is a great place to watch cars on the limit, and you know, you can get so close, and there's not many barriers. There's a couple down there and a couple back down there, but in general it's a great place to sort of have an unobstructed view of some of the world's finest cars. So now we're at Westfield Bend here. You can see we've come on quite a fast part of the track here. We've had the long straight, then another fast corner. But weirdly enough, this is actually a place where quite a few people do manage to do overtakes. They set up the run down the straight, they're close through the corner, maybe get side by side into the corner, then they sort of complete the move into this part of the track. And even though it doesn't really look like a place you'd actually typically do an overtake, because of the way you can set it up from down there, it does actually work out to be quite a good place to get an overtake here at Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix loop. So now we're here at Dingledale. You can see just up there the track really dips down, then comes back up here. It's a bit of like a valley effect in a way, and cars are going flat out through this part of the track here. There's no really need for lifting on this part. So you can see also up there though, in the wet conditions there's water sort of streaming at a sort of a weird angle down the track. So in wet conditions this part of the track can become particularly difficult. So So now we're here at Sheen Curve, and this is a part of the track that's actually changed quite a bit in Brands Hatch's history, but right now it's a corner where you can't really typically overtake unless somebody from the previous corners got really far offline. There isn't really a chance of an overtake here, so it's normally single file through here, cars going very, very quickly through here. One of the fastest corners on the Brands Hatch circuit, but a fantastic, once again, place to watch cars on the limit. So here we are at the final corner on the Grand Prix loop. This is Sterling's corner just here. It's an absolutely fantastic place to watch a car on the limit, and I'd say if there's any photographers out there looking for a good place to get a photo of Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix loop, I'd say here or just over there where the orange markers are. It's a fantastic place, just around the sort of other side there where you can't particularly see. It's just some great places to get some photographs. It is quite busy here on race weekends, but if you can find a spot, some great photos are to be had here. When you think about it, saying you love a racing track is kind of strange, because all it is some tarmac and some grass and places where you can park your car. But in reality, for me, Brands Hatch is always going to be part of my life because I've visited it so many times throughout my life, and I love motorsport. My dad took me here when I was, I don't know, quite young, 2005, the British GT rounds. Yeah, and that basically was the start of it for me. I absolutely love this track since then, still love it today. Of course, when you go a lot, you understand that it's not going to be amazing every time, but I think this track is absolutely fantastic. It might not be the greatest for overtakes in some certain series, but in general, for seeing cars just absolutely flat out, seeing cars being pushed like crazy, some of the corners around Brands Hatch really sort of promote that. So for me, it's always going to be up there. One of the best tracks for me personally in the world. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. So there we are, that is the Grand Prix loop at Brands Hatch. Hopefully that's given you guys a nice opportunity to see the part of the Brands Hatch loop which isn't really seen that often. It isn't used too much nowadays, the Grand Prix loop. I think maybe like 5 or 6 times a year. It isn't particularly well used like the Indy circuit is, which is used pretty much every week. So there we are, that's sort of the first episode of the best motorsport circuits in the world series done. I mean, yeah, I really enjoyed creating this, guys. I sort of talked about this on my sort of YouTube community page. This idea was sort of conceptualized and sort of put into place within 24 hours. I thought of the idea, I went to Brands Hatch and filmed it, got all the footage together, all within a day basically. So it didn't quite have the coverage maybe in some areas that I would have liked, but that's just because I thought the idea is like, this is a great opportunity to get some nice footage as well, where it's not going to be too busy and get the perfect angles on the cars. And yeah, the test session was a great one to visit, by the way. I mean, free admission to test sessions is always quite cool, but you just gotta keep an eye out on social media to see what cars and teams are testing. But yeah, that's it. Please leave your feedback, any opinions, any thoughts in the comment section down below. Also, some suggestions, other tracks you want me to visit. I've also put this out on my community page as well, what tracks you want me to visit in the future. So yeah, let me know in the comment section down below. Hopefully you did enjoy the video, guys. I'm going to send you back to me at Brands Hatch to sort of outro out this video. So that's it for us here today at Brands Hatch. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. Please remember to leave us a like on the video if you did enjoy it, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Also, please remember to leave us some suggestions down in the comment section for other tracks you'd like us to visit in this series. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you all soon. Goodbye. So there we are then, guys. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy that whole video there. This is the sort of chatty segment we normally have at the end of each video, sort of just to come down and sort of just talk about how the video went. But as I said in the actual video, I didn't have much time to plan this video. I put it into action quite quickly, so there were some areas where I feel like I could have had extra coverage, but there just wasn't the time in the day to get all the planning and the filming done. Also, thank you to my friend George. He came and helped me just halfway through the day to actually record the stuff on the sort of Grand Prix segment. So I'll leave a link to his YouTube and Instagram down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys just check him out for a second. If you like his stuff, that'd be appreciated. He's a friend at uni, so yeah, I appreciate him coming out on his spare day from our university course to come and help me, film a bit of stuff at Brands Hatch. But I really enjoyed this series, guys. Of course, leave your feedback and anything down below. It really just is going to help me sort of change this series, make sure it's as best as possible. Suggestions obviously of track nights and stuff as well, but it's not going to be a series that's going to be out every single week, of course, because I can't visit a brand new amazing track every single week. But I am going to a couple of tracks this year. Maybe you can let me know if you would like me to record videos when I go to them. I'm going to Zandvoort, I'm going to the Norrisring, which is a sort of street track in Germany. I'm going to Silverstone later this year for the World Endurance Championship. I'm also going to, hopefully, fingers crossed, a couple of Formula E events, Berlin and Zurich. I know they aren't particularly iconic tracks because they change each year, but maybe I could do a video there, maybe just showing you what a Formula E track is like in terms of accessibility. yeah, thanks for watching, I guess. Hopefully you did enjoy the video. Please remember to show the support on the video with a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Also, I forgot to mention this. If you are enjoying the videos, have you really thought this was a good idea, maybe you could consider maybe donating over on Patreon. I'll leave it in the description, but I completely understand if you don't want to. Yeah, I got it in there right at the end. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys around soon. Goodbye.